The story of Apple Inc. got from a garage to global domination. In the mid-1970s, the world of personal computing was only just beginning to take shape. Most computers were massive, room-filling machines used by governments, corporations, or universities. Ordinary people had little access to computing power. But in California's Silicon Valley, two young men were about to change that forever. Steve Jobs, a college dropout with a taste for design and vision, and Steve Wozniak, a brilliant self-taught engineer with an eye for electronics, shared a dream to make computers small, personal, and accessible. Together, they began working on a machine in a garage in Los Altos, California, the Jobs family garage, which would later become a symbol of startup culture worldwide. 1976, the birth of Apple. On April 1, 1976, Jobs, Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne officially founded Apple Computer Company. Their first product, the Apple I, wasn't much more than a circuit board without a case, monitor, or keyboard. Still, it was revolutionary because it gave hobbyists the ability to build their own personal computer system at home. Wayne soon sold his shares, leaving Jobs and Wozniak to push forward. The following year, Apple released the Apple II, one of the first highly successful mass-produced personal computers. Unlike the Apple I, it came in a sleek plastic case with a keyboard and was user-friendly. Schools, businesses, and households began adopting it. Suddenly, Apple was on the map. The 1980s rise and fall. In 1980, Apple went public, making its founders millionaires and cementing its place in the tech industry. But as the company grew, challenges followed. Jobs had a knack for vision, but was known to be demanding and difficult. Meanwhile, other companies like IBM entered the personal computer market with machines that became industry standards. Apple's closed ecosystem made it hard for others to develop for its machines. While IBM-compatible PCs flourished. In 1984, Apple launched the Macintosh, the first widely sold computer with a graphical user interface GUI and a mouse. Its famous 1984 Super Bowl commercial, directed by Ridley Scott, positioned Apple as a revolutionary force against the dull conformity of IBM. The Mac was groundbreaking, but its sales were disappointing after the initial hype. Internal tensions boiled over. In 1985, Jobs was forced out of the company he had founded. Wozniak had already stepped back from daily operations. Apple entered a long period of struggle. Internal tensions boiled over. In 1985, Jobs was forced out of the company he had founded. Wozniak had already stepped back from daily operations. Apple entered a long period of struggle. The wilderness years. Throughout the late 1980s and early 1990s, Apple released new products, some successful, like improved Macs, and others failures, like the Newton and early attempt at a tablet. Microsoft, meanwhile, was rising with its Windows operating system, which imitated many of the Mac's features, but was cheaper and more widely available. Apple was losing ground, and many predicted its demise. 1997, the return of Steve Jobs. By the mid-1990s, Apple was on the brink of collapse. In 1997, Apple acquired Next, a company Steve Jobs had founded after leaving Apple. With that purchase, Jobs returned. He quickly streamlined Apple's messy product line, cutting dozens of overlapping models and focusing on simplicity and design. Jobs partnered with Microsoft, Apple's old rival, in a surprising deal that brought much-needed cash and ensured that Microsoft Office would run on Macs. This move stabilized Apple and shocked the industry. The iMac and the rebirth of design. In 1998, Apple introduced the iMac, designed by Jony Ive under Jobs' direction. With its colorful, translucent body and all-in-one simplicity, it captured public attention. The iMac wasn't just a computer, it was a fashion statement. The late 1990s saw Apple rebranding itself not just as a tech company but as a lifestyle brand. Its motto, Think different. The 2000s, the age of innovation. Apple wasn't content to just make computers. In 2001, it launched the iPod, a sleek digital music player that allowed 1,000 songs in your pocket. It transformed the music industry and made Apple a household name again. Apple wasn't content to just make computers. In 2001, it launched the iPod, a sleek digital music player that allowed 1,000 songs in your pocket. It transformed the music industry and made Apple a household name again. In 2003, Apple opened the iTunes Store, which revolutionized how people bought and listened to music. But the biggest breakthrough came in 2007, when Jobs walked on stage and introduced a device that combined an iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator, the iPhone. With its touchscreen design and app store, the iPhone didn't just reinvent the phone, it created an entire ecosystem. Competitors scrambled to catch up, but Apple had set the standard for the modern smartphone era. The iPad and beyond. In 2010, Apple introduced the iPad, blurring the line between laptops and smartphones. Critics were skeptical at first, but the iPad quickly became a success, dominating the tablet market. Apple continued to refine its computers, phones, and devices, always with an emphasis on design, user experience, and seamless integration across its ecosystem. 2011, the death of Steve Jobs. In October 2011, Steve Jobs passed away after a long battle with cancer. His death marked the end of an era, but by then, Apple was the world's most valuable company. Tim Cook, Apple's operations chief, became CEO. The modern era. Under Cook, Apple has expanded into wearables like the Apple Watch and AirPods, services Apple Music, Apple TV+, iCloud, and advanced chips like the M1 and M2 processors. Its devices are status symbols around the world, from the sleek MacBook to the latest iPhone. Apple's focus on privacy, sustainability, and sleek design has kept it distinct from rivals. Despite controversies over labor practices, App Store policies, and high prices, Apple maintains one of the most loyal customer bases in history. Legacy. What started as a dream in a garage became a company that shaped entire industries: computers, music, phones, and digital media. Today, Apple is not just a technology company. It is a cultural force, a symbol of innovation, and one of the most influential companies in the world. The story of Apple is the story of daring ideas, dramatic failures, triumphant comebacks, and a relentless pursuit of design and innovation. And so, from a humble garage in Los Altos to being the first company to reach a $3 trillion valuation, Apple's history is a modern legend proving that vision, creativity, and persistence can truly change the world.